Good morning, Young County. I've had a few people reach out to me about some confusion of some elections in Young County. So I want to get on here quickly and try to explain the confusion. In March, when we have our election, we had the county judge election and we had a JP election locally. Those are single party elections. They're called primary elections. In Young County, because we do not have a large Democratic base anymore, most Democrats run on the Republican ticket. The majority is really on one race in Young County, and that's the Republican ticket. However, and there's also a Democrat race, a Democrat party. When you win that election, so we had that election in March, and then we had a runoff because one candidate didn't win more than another for the judge, and so then we had that election in May. That is a primary election. That is stating who is going to run on the Republican ticket in the general election of November. And as we know, for the county judge, John Charles won the primary election for the Republican ticket for November for the general election. General election is open to one candidate from each party and write-in candidates. And you have to file by a deadline in August to be a write-in candidate. So just because a candidate wins a primary election, just as John Charles won the primary election in May, does not necessarily mean he's going to win the general election in November. You can have candidates write in against him, and we did in Young County. There are two candidates that have applied to do write-ins, from what I understand, to do write-ins against John Charles for the general election. I have no idea who these candidates are. Don't even know their names. I know the first name of one of them being Taylor. She's an attorney, and her pastor is from High Ridge. That's all I know. Never met these candidates. But I'm getting a lot of calls of people going, wait, what is all this business about? I'm hearing this buzz about John Charles hasn't won yet. Well, technically he hasn't. He has to win the general election. He just won the Republican primary. Also in the JP Precinct 1 race, we have some write-in candidates as well. What happened there was Judge Hearn won his primary in March because no one ran against him. He won the primary on the Republican. Historically, in a small county like Young County, if you win the Republican ticket, historically, you do not have a lot of people run against you in the general election. However, Judge Hearn resigned. He chose to resign later on, and then he chose to remove himself from the ticket because even though he resigned from his position to go do a business venture, he was still on the general ticket because he had still won that primary. So the county commissioners appointed a temporary JP to run out his term, but they still had to deal with the fact that he was on the ticket. And that's Lane Burgess and the Republican committee that gets to decide who runs on that ticket in replacement of Judge Hearn because he removed himself from the ticket. We have multiple individuals in Precinct 1 JP position wanting to run as a write-in. So be careful, voters. It's coming, the general election, but it's exciting in Young County because we have some options in our general election locally, and you can do write-ins. And I'll do educational videos later on how to do the write-in, or go talk to the elections registrar. She's very good at explaining things. But just because they won primary election does not necessarily mean they won general election. I don't know any of these candidates. I do know one deputy that is running for the JP1 position. But other than that, I don't know any of the candidates that are running. I just want to educate you guys. One, yes, we can have write-ins. No, it does not mean they won the general election yet. There still could be a different outcome. But three, it takes voters to educate themselves and go in and actually write in their candidate instead of just clicking the box on the ballot. Love you guys. Bye.